Tamworth get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. Tamworth get battered everywhere they go. Tamworth get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. Tamworth get battered everywhere they go. Tamworth get battered everywhere they go. Right, I'm not going to do that anymore. Have some shame. Have some shame. Wow. What performance from Tottenham Hotspur there. A disgraceful one, really. I don't think we need a full and deep inquiry into that one, right? I mean, very bad. There's a few curveballs, right? Isn't it? It's FA Cup. You know, there's a groundswell of opinion that wants Tottenham Hotspur to fail in that fixture. Shouldn't really play a part, but these people are human beings, and it probably will. Playing on a whatever it was, basically AstroTurf. Let's call it AstroTurf 3G, 4G. It seems to be that people couldn't quite agree on that. Let's just call it AstroTurf. Not great, but we're through. We're done in the FA Cup. You know that. The thing is, as soon as we got to extra time, I was just like, yeah, we'll slap them. We're done. Like, it's fine. We'll beat them now. It's gone to extra time. And in a sort of like, if you want to be unkind to Spurs about it, which we probably deserve today, we didn't really beat them. Do you know what I mean? Like, the fact that we're a Premier League side that we have kind of elite level players who have a training regimen and physios and whatever behind them, a team of that means that their fitness and match longevity will be more than a semi-professional footballer who plays in the National League. Our fitness saw us out through that one. Really, in before they changed it, Tamworth would have earned themselves a nice replay at the Tottenham Stadium. A good day out for them, for the players, for the fans. It's a shame that they don't get that. You know, I've just fall on the side of the fence where I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair on the grassroots clubs that they do that. However, they restructure the FA Cup in order to allow grassroots clubs to not lose money, apparently, from losing replays. I don't think that tells the full story. I think, we can sort of have a joke and a laugh about the magic of the FA Cup and all that sort of bollocks. But one of the big positives of the FA Cup is that the funny thing is, and I was saying this on Blue Sky, like one of the things that's so great about the FA Cup for me is seeing elite level athletes playing against semi-professional players, cowshed stadiums, a few, couple of thousand people there or whatever it is. It humanizes the sport again. It kind of it gives it a sense of centering. It's almost like, it's ironically enough, because we played on 3G, 4G, AstroTurf, whatever you want to call it. It kind of is like the footballing equivalent of touching grass. Like when it's week in, week out, the kind of the circus of Premier League football, big stadiums, other than when a club like Luton are in the Premier League. That's not a slight. I'm just saying genuinely. Playing in something like the FA Cup, playing in that is, because these questions were put to Ange Postecoglou, and I actually think he got kind of needlessly prickly about it. I don't really think the question was trying to ensnare him, at least in the way he was reacting to it. When he was asked, how are these, multi-millionaire footballers going to perform playing in this kind of scenario? And obviously he said, well, they all come from playing in these types of scenarios, blah, 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 which probably isn't even true, but still, for some of them, maybe it is. But I think it was more just about the spirit of the FA Cup, what it represents, and everything like that. And I always just find it bizarre when you do see like the elite athletes playing in those kind of, what was it called, the Snow Dome or something like that, overlooking the Tamworth Stadium in the background and everything. And there is something quite centering about it, quite grounding. And and it brings a certain humanity to the game. And I think through that, and I'm not trying to make excuses for today, but I think through that kind of prism that I'm presenting there, it probably is worth remembering that as Ange Postecoglou, as we love Ange Postecoglou for saying it's 11 men against 11 men when we're playing against top level opposition, right? It's 11 men against 11 men. It's the same. It's the same scenario here, just in reverse, right? We're the big dog in this fight, but still, it's 11 blokes against 11 blokes who want to win a football match, and the FA Cup presents that opportunity. It presents an opportunity for games like today to happen, and I think you'd be a liar. I think you'd be a liar if you weren't thinking, like right at the very end of normal time, when Tamworth were when the ball was just kind of pinballing around in our box and everything. I was like, oh my God. Oh, I was sat there saying that. I was sat there saying, oh my God, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like this is, and it would have been, for all this kind of talk about humanizing and stuff, it would have been a shameful result for Tottenham. It would have been, it would have been historic, and it would have been a terrible result for Spurs to lose to a National League side. Last time we've lost to a non-league side is 1914 against Norwich at the time. Don't even know if they were Norwich City then. When I saw that fact, it was just presented as Norwich. But they could have just been speaking in shorthand. It would have been terrible. It would have been terrible. But also, these things do happen. We've come through it. And I think for every action being a fantastic result and performance against Liverpool, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Which is a terrible performance, but still a win just about against Tamworth in the FA Cup a few days later. It's good because it means I'm sure there's a few sort of banter tweets that Paddy Power and the like have all had to stick back in the drafts and everything like that, which is good. I will say, look, obviously I'm trying to come across quite cool, calm, and collected about it now. I'm not acting holier than now for anyone that is kind of annoyed about that result or performance today, because I was not particularly happy about that. Do you know what I mean? I was during the second half there. I was what can I say I was doing? I was sat there just basically bemoaning the performance, bemoaning the way Spurs were handling that game. I was questioning where the players' kind of professional pride was, how again they could do that to us as the fans and all that type of thing. But we came through it, and I knew I did. I knew as soon as we got to. I knew as soon as we got to extra time, we'd do it. I knew it would be all right. But great performance from Tamworth today. You have to hand it to them. I think, given that they don't get the replay anymore, they don't get the chance to come and play at Tottenham Stadium and all that type of thing. They couldn't have asked so much more today. I mean, they could have asked for the win. I get that, but you know what I'm saying. Like, they probably couldn't have asked for much more today. They put out a great performance. It's one that, I know it sounds a bit trite and all that type of thing, but it's one to tell the grandkids about, isn't it? Like the day we played against Tottenham, who came to our ground and we matched them for 90 minutes. They can leave the kind of ground with their sort of heads held high. In a Hollywood movie, that's kind of the good ending, isn't it? Well done. Is there much to reflect on about Spurs in this? The main thing I would say really is that Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner should never again form two parts of our three-part attacking band. They just can't do it. Like, we cannot have those two as part of the three up top again. We just can't. Timo Werner, I think, seems like a lovely, lovely fella, and I really like. Look, football isn't built on sentiment. At the end of the day, he's just not. I'm sure he's got the ability, but his mentality is not there. Like, it just isn't there. I'm sure he's struggling. I'm sure it's not particularly nice. And I know people say, well, the 180 grand a week he gets probably makes it nicer. Yeah, I get it, but still, I think that kind of it ignores the fact that even elite level athletes can probably have certain mental struggles and everything like that, right? When it comes to performances, when it comes to being in poor form and stuff like that. And Timo Werner, I'm sure, is struggling. I'm sure he is not enjoying the way he's been playing this season. I'm sure he's not enjoying the way he's being spoken about. But at the same time, he is a professional footballer. It's part and parcel of the job that you do your job in public. You get scrutinized in a way that because I don't. People will say like, "Well, how would you feel if people were scrutinizing your every move as in your job?" They do though, like they do in most professions. Like you do get scrutinized, and yeah, okay, you don't get publicly picked apart and stuff, but at the same time, you're not earning for the most of us aren't anyway, hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. It's kind of what comes of it. I'm not saying abuse. I'm not saying people should be abused and everything, but when it comes to because you do get it every now and again. I get it. I tend to think. I personally think on here. Maybe I have done in the past, but I've been young. I've been doing this for however long now. I've been doing these sort of podcasts and stuff since I was in my mid-20s. But I like to think at least for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I don't get abusive on here. Yeah, I might have some fairly terse opinions. I might frame my opinions in a somewhat coarse way at times. But I do like to think I'm somewhat mindful of the fact that these people are human beings. You shouldn't be abusive, so on and so forth. And I still get some blowback where people will say, well, you've got something of a platform. You shouldn't be saying stuff about players. You shouldn't be talking about their performances. They're human beings. And I just I don't agree with that. I think it's part of it, right? There's going to be discourse around these sports, around the way they play, around what these players do, because it's just what happens, isn't it? And my long story short here is that Timo Werner it's done, isn't it? Like this experiment is done. Chuck him in if we're absolutely desperate. And I get it. I get I'm not criticizing Ange for starting him today. I'm not at all. I understand it. We got Arsenal on Wednesday, and the manager's probably thinking even Timo can do a job here. Like let's use Timo. He can do the job here. And my point is, like, you're seeing even from today, he hasn't been able to do it. He hasn't been capable to put in a proper commanding performance against even Tamworth. That is not a player you can rely upon. It just isn't anymore. It's just not. And I know he's a lovely bloke and he seems very charming and sweet and whatever in interviews and all that type of thing. But that's not our concern. He gets paid a lot. He's won a Champions League. He's having a good life, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people really. I know it's a film, but I revisited Parasite last night. Oh my god! Like, there's misery, right? Do you know what I mean? And there's people that live in that way, most likely, right? Everywhere. Timo Werner, people being critical of his performances. And I know I had a go at Ange for sort of publicly dragging him, and I think that's still slightly different. But Timo Werner, I would comfortably never see him wear a Tottenham shirt ever again. I will say, and I like the fella. I understood the reasons for bringing him in last year, at least, giving it another go, seeing if somebody could get a tune from him. This system would be set up well for him, but it just wasn't. But Timo Werner, that's not a controversial opinion. I think the slightly more controversial one, perhaps to a degree, is Brennan Johnson. From what we can understand, he was victim to some horrible, horrible abuse on his personal social media feeds and everything like that. No place for that. No condoning that. What I do think we can say, though, is that Brennan Johnson, I think, personally speaking, is not good enough for a club that has aspirations of being fantastic. And I know people can say I think he's our second highest this season, second highest combined goals and assists. What is it? Goal contributor, whatever. Second highest. Does he do much else though? Like honestly, does he? And I know somebody would say like that's what he's there to do though. That's his job. And I do kind of take that on board. I do. It is something I am quite torn on, but I do think I just don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's a very good player. Like you might be, I don't know if it's a mentality thing. You're not in the fella's head or not. I just think in terms of like actual ability on the ball, he's not very exciting. Like it's funny to me because I can remember like Aaron Lennon back in the day. Aaron Lennon was a player that people were like, he'd be a fantastic player if he had an end product. And I think you could look at Brennan Johnson and say he has much more of an end product than Aaron Lennon. Even though I do think Aaron Lennon was somewhat unfairly maligned for this supposed lack of end product. Um, but I would say that Aaron Lennon, despite probably not having the goals and assists of somebody like Brennan Johnson year on year, Aaron Lennon was much more of a threat. Aaron Lennon caused much more of a headache to opposition teams than Brennan Johnson has shown thus far that he is capable of doing. And I think again, like it's not knee jerk because we've had these concerns about Brennan Johnson before today. So I don't think it's knee jerk to say off the back of this performance, if he's showing you that if he can't even do it today, yeah, I get it. He scored, but he's come on. He scored the third goal against Tamworth when they were knackered. The game was done. Like that's not a gotcha, you know. I think there's a case to be made that if Brennan Johnson is showing that he can't do it today, if he can't dominate in games like today, he ain't ever going to do it. And I'd personally see us move like because I've seen some people say it's not a critical replacement. I kind of think it is. I kind of think it is because I kind of think seeing the way when I see that Liverpool game the other night, when you see the way Kinski completely opened up a new dimension for Tottenham, his passing, his playing out from the back, completely opened up a new dimension for Tottenham. I also think if we had an absolute, as people would say, baller in that final third, who was getting on the end of those Kinski, again, I always default back to this, but someone like a Williams, someone like a Marmoush, whatever, you have a player of that kind of quality in the final third, picking up those balls from Kinski, you're going to see a whole different side to this Tottenham side once again. And I think right now we've got somebody in Brennan Johnson who's just taking up a place for somebody that could be truly special in here. I think it was whatever, I think it's fair enough to still to say, I'm saying in contrary to what I'm saying, if you feel the urge to say, well, he's still getting goals, he's still getting assists, I think that is fair enough. And I think there's still enough of a conversation there to be had about him. But I would say just where I kind of land on it now with Brennan Johnson is that he's not good enough. I just don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's tenacious enough. Um, I I don't think he frightens oppositions, and I think that Aaron Lennon comparison is kind of because I've seen it presented the other way. Everybody loved Aaron Lennon, but he didn't score an assist like this Don does, and you're like, but mate, like Lennon was different gravy, man. Like, and I think if you've got a player that has that kind of because the thing is there are players that can have the threat of somebody like and that kind of dogged persistence, that just ability to get in the face of the opposition like Aaron Lennon had, to bomb it into space, to always be so positive in so much of his play. That was the thing about Aaron Lennon, always taking the ball forwards. And there is always that thing. There's the thing that always followed Aaron Lennon around was the sound of the seats going up at White Hart Lane, which is so true. It's such a that is going to be. It's already probably venturing into your Dar territory, but it is like one of those like things. It's one of those. It's like the legend of Aaron Lennon. It's the slap of the seats going up every time he got the ball, because every time he got on the ball, you're like, yes, he's going to bomb it. He's going to bomb it forwards, and something might happen for Tottenham. Can you honestly say you ever feel anything close to that when Brennan Johnson's on the ball? Honestly, even if and I get it. I get it. I know what the pushback is. I know what the pushback is from a lot of like the way I speak on this podcast, because I see it. I see people tweet it at me. People fucking send me weird emails and stuff about it. And if you are listening to this, yes, I am talking to you, weird person that loves to send me funny emails that I sort of, whatever. Who cares? I get it, because people will say, look at this guy, he loses his head and he comes out with all these intangibles and this emotional blowhard rhetoric. Here's the cold hard stats. Here's Brennan Johnson's stats. But again, I don't think you can just reduce football to that. It's part of a wider picture, like optics and such, right? This is a conversation that we know exists, right? We can say it's such a widely used phrase now. The data would say this, but optically it's not great for these reasons. And in a certain sense, that's what you get from someone like Brennan Johnson. Yes, the data would show you Brennan Johnson is a successful part of this team. And to a certain degree, he is. But also, no. And that's it. It's just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it for me. It's funny. It's funny to me that Mikey Moore has missed what, a couple of months of football. He's been ill, and looked on par with, if not slightly better, but let's say on par with Johnson and Werner. And that is not a slight against Mikey Moore. That's a 17-year-old, might be 18 now, can't remember. Let's go with 17 for now. A 17-year-old playing in his first season of senior level football, who has been injured, ill for a couple of months, lacking match sharpness, probably lacking just general fitness from the illness and stuff, who is managing to keep par with Johnson and Werner. That's not a good look for those two at all. And, we played against Tamworth, who, I'll go back to the start and say they gave a great account of themselves, but still playing against Tamworth. Is there much else to say about anybody else, really? Pedro Porro. Thought Pedro Porro was quite disgusting today. I'll say that. I think, I think Pedro Porro's performance was pretty despicable. Probably tired, all that sort of thing. I get all that, but again, it's Tamworth. I don't know. It's funny. It's one, because I was always sort of like fighting Pedro Porro's corner, and that was when I got a little bit of not blowback, but pushback from on these pods and stuff like that earlier on in the season. People saying you're not really, you gave Porro such a pass there when XYZ, he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good today. He wasn't very good at doing these certain things. And as I've watched him more and more, days like today, I'm like, again, even if he's knackered, I feel like he should be doing a bit better. I know the case is sort of being made at the moment to play Spence left back, drop a doggy, and play Spence and Porro. I'm sort of more tempted to play Spence and the doggy, to be honest with you. I think that's just kind of where I land on it. Yeah, but that's one for another day. But look, we're through. We're through to the next round of the FA Cup, and That's good. Look, it is one of those things, right? The manner of today was not great. It wasn't a great performance, but we got through it. We won. We've beaten Liverpool in the week, and we've come through in this. Yes, maybe it was tricky than it should have been, but still tricky FA Cup tie. We've won it, and history will just really show you in this week. The results were Tottenham 1, Liverpool nil, Tamworth nil, Tottenham 3. And that's it. Go on to the next. Big game on Wednesday. Massive game. Shouldn't be understated. I know we're all saying we've written off the league this year, so it's a free hit. Bollocks, man. Bollocks. I've actually seen people say that in the North London derbies. Have a look on Twitter, wherever. Free hit. It's not a free hit, man. It's Arsenal. Never is. And again, you can say this is like blowhard, gammon lens to look at football through. What's the fucking point of football if you don't view it with at least some kind of fervent, foaming at the mouth, tribal bollocks? It's part of it, man. Should we do the players? Let's do the players. Let's just load this up now. Tamworth. Like I say, I genuinely don't think there was a lot to say about Tamworth Snow Dome is trending. Just thought I should say right now. It's quite amusing. Tamworth versus Tottenham. Right, the players. So Kinski. A clean sheet. Clean sheet for Kinski. Maybe a couple of wobbly moments, should we say? But I think it's always going to look a bit wobbly when you have a player like him who plays out from the back and all that type of thing. Wasn't really ever tested. For all that Tamworth did, that was great. They didn't really ever test him. So a fine performance. Let's stay on the positivity with him. Pedro Porro, as I sort of said there, I didn't think a very good performance from him. Bordering unacceptable performance. Quite tired, all that type of thing. But yeah. Radu Dragusin. There's just the thing about Radu Dragusin is, right, there's just a fundamental lack of stability when he's present, really. And he might be able to have sort of phases in games where he's doing all right, or that was quite nice from him, that tackle or whatever. But even like playing against sort of players at this level, he never looked that assured. We know he's terrible on the ball. He just is. And I don't think there were any really clear examples of him being particularly bad on the ball and it leading to anything for the opposition today or getting Tottenham in any sort of trouble. But I think it obviously does build into the overall lack of control in games, the lack of Spurs being able to play the way they want to, that we get when we've got somebody like Romero, who is a fine ball player, present. He's a bit rattled, isn't he? He's not very composed, and you don't ever really feel safe with Jackson playing for us. But he's played a lot of minutes these past few weeks, and I won't say he's not been trying his best. I can't tell you what his best is, to be brutally honest with you. But he's tried, hasn't he? So whatever. Archie Gray. It's the first time today I was actually a bit like, he's struggling a little bit today, but I don't think there's much to look into on that. He's a young player. He's played a lot of minutes. He's probably quite tired. Hostile environment, 3G pitch, 4G AstroTurf, whatever you want to call it again. Fine. But I just think it was just the first time where I've been less than like I'm just saying that performance today was like he struggled a bit. That's all I kind of think. I think he struggled with the pressure, and he's playing out of position. He's 18. Like, it's fine. It's not a grand inquisition into Archie Gray, right? And his strengths or weaknesses. I'm just saying he struggled a little bit today. Sergio Reguilon was fine without ever being particularly great today. Was okay, wasn't he? I think we can say he was okay. Um, that's sort of him, isn't it? You know, don't think there's again. I don't think there's much more to say. I think maybe all right. If I one thing I did sort of think in the back of my mind is that I don't always think he used the ball as smart as he could have done. Feel sometimes he kept like running into players. It's like it's nice that he had the sort of mentality to try and like to think he was going to take players on, but a couple of times I saw he just sort of ran into them. Sometimes he tries to overplay it a little bit, but he was okay today. I thought. I don't think it was a criminal performance by any stretch of the imagination. Pape Matasar, and you know if you've been listening to this podcast for any stretch of time, he's a player I very much admire. I'm a big fan of Pape Matasar. Bit of a day to forget for him, I feel. He was sort of largely anonymous. And I feel like he kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe he's a bit tired, maybe the kind of the build-up of games. Maybe we're not really utilizing him effectively. I can't say, but a lot of the positive kind of attributes I usually see from Pepe Matsar is, his box-to-box ability, notably so. The fact he's usually dropping back, providing an opportunity for the centre-backs to utilize, to allow the play to progress up the pitch. He just doesn't seem to be quite there at the moment. He's not quite sort of everywhere. And that probably is a sign that he's tired. But funnily enough, I sort of feel like the occasion overwhelmed him a little bit. Do you know what I mean today? And that's fine. Again, it's worth remembering he's a young player as well. He's a young player. He's learning, but he's a player I very much like. I just think the game sort of got away from him a little bit today. Yves Bissouma, I thought was good today. I thought he was good. He was solid. He, mopped up quite a lot. He ensured that, Spurs at least were semi-respectable today, I think. I'm a big fan of Yves Bissouma. If he can sort out his consistency, he's a fine footballer. James Maddison, good. I think there's the temptation from me to say days like today, James Maddison should be absolutely running the show and bossing it. And I think he was trying his best. I do actually think he was trying to. I think he was trying to create as much as he could. I think he was something of a nuisance. I think he showed quick feet several times. I think he was decent. I think he was okay. I think the front three did him no favors. So I'm not going to dig out James Maddison today. I think he did not quite as good, as best as much as you could have asked from him because don't quite feel that, but I think he did well today. Okay, Brennan Johnson I've already spoken about. Got a goal, but whatever. Nah, not for me. Timo Werner spent literally about 15 minutes talking about him at the top. Mikey Moore, good to see him get more minutes. It's good to have a game like this to get him kind of coming back up to speed a little bit, right? Get a lot of minutes in a game like this, Tamworth. It's nice. It's almost like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's kind of, it's kind of inherent within what I'm saying. Kind of a training match today in a way. And Mikey Moore came through it. He did okay. Didn't set the world alight, but like I said, 17, 18 years old. He's been out for 2 months with an illness. Fine, Sonny came on, looked decent. He shouldn't have come on. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty embarrassing that we had to bring him on. Bergvall came on, looked good. It's a big part of why Tottenham ended up winning the game. I think just his fitness, that added kind of impetus he gave us in midfield. I always use that word with him, impetus. But he gave us a bit more direction from midfield. I feel a bit more of an attacking zing, if you like, an attacking piquancy. Good, great. Dominic Solanke was on for quite a while. Didn't actually really do much today. I think it probably took him by surprise a little bit, the occasion. I suppose when the team are playing the way in which they are, I think he came on, I want to say about the 60th minute, give or take, there or thereabouts, wasn't it? I think when the team was were in a bit of a rut and Tamworth's tails are up, it's kind of hard to sort of just chuck in Solanke and say, go on, make something happen, which, one might argue a top tier striker probably should be able to do. And maybe there's a discussion there, but whatever, cold day, AstroTurf, all those sorts of things. There's a lot of players I'll be digging out this season before I dig out Dominic Solanke. Let's just keep it there. Do you know what I mean? Dejan Kulusevski, lovely finish, lovely goal. Put the tie beyond any doubt. Shouldn't have been on the pitch, but still came on and did what you would expect from the player who's been our best player this season. Jed Spence, again, very, very good when he came on, just solid, decent. Apparently there was something, apparently he had some funny interaction with some of the Tamworth fans at the start of the game. I missed it. If anyone's seen it, please let me know what it was. But, fine. All in all, we won. I've had a comment here from Boo Daddy Boo that said, we won, nothing else to discuss. Yeah, probably. That's probably what you could say of this game if you wanted to, but that, that doesn't make for a great podcast, does it? We've won. Come through against Liverpool. We set ourselves up for a nice tie at Anfield. We've won ugly at Tamworth. Yes, it's Tamworth, but we've won ugly. It's what I've been bleating on about on here for the past few weeks for Ange Postecoglou to start doing with Spurs. Win ugly. Win ugly. Like, if we don't win 4-5-0, I mean, we won 3-0 in the end, but still, do you know what I mean? It's not like a true 3-0 win today. But if we're not going to win 4-5-0, start winning the tougher games ugly. Start winning ugly. And we did that. We did that today, and that was good. Well done, Tottenham. Well done, Ange. Nice second leg at Anfield. Nice. It's going to be nice about a second leg semi-final at Anfield. A semi-final second leg with some hope at Anfield, even if it's just a glimmer of hope, with some hope. And we're through in the FA Cup. Our name's in the hat. And that's all you can ask for. Ultimately, that's all you can ask for. And we've done it. Bring on the North London derby. That's what we can say now, isn't it? But I don't think there's much more to say. I'll probably go and watch the second half of Man United versus Arsenal now. If you have enjoyed the pods, please leave a rating. Please leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, I can see lots of people watching, but not as many thumbs up as there are people watching. So if you are enjoying it, please drop us a thumbs up. It allows more people to have this to get suggested to and everything like that. I started doing some more interesting stuff. I don't just want to come and rant and rave after every single performance. Go check out YouTube or Patreon. You'll get it first on Patreon, patreon.com/RTRpods. Starting to do some little kind of sporkle quiz things. That meme of there's nothing middle-aged men like doing more than sitting around and naming old Premier League players. It's basically what I'm doing. Just going on Sporkle and doing some of those because it's quite fun. So come and check some of that out on YouTube if you want to, or Patreon, patreon.com/RTRpod, where there's more podcasts there. You can join as a free member at first, have a listen to some of the content on there. And every now and again, I push out those podcasts to the members who are registered for free. If you do want to support the show as well, please do just sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/RTR. Fine, I get it. I understand it. Just like, subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review, all those nice things. Share the pods. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the week ahead up until Wednesday. And no doubt I will be talking Arsenal during the week. So, yeah, keep tuned. Much love. Come on, you Spurs. Bye bye.